That's what I did. But now I got good side. So and my and I can make it that size, but I wanted that big. But it didn't exactly say long term. But the thing is, if I take it away, it doesn't make it responsive.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So we will start from where we left off on Tuesday. So today, just to give you an overview, we are going to look at some other node packages. Before we look into that, I'll give you a quick refresher, NPM and all that stuff. And then towards the end of the class, we have our new homework that is due next week. So Ethan is going to go ahead and introduce you guys. Okay, so I want to finish this class 10 minutes before so that you can have some time to go over it. It's a little bit trickier, and I think he has a lot of stuff to go over as well for the homework. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our first activity. This is number 20. Okay, so now this one does not involve anything to do with npm or anything. This is just a simple node program just to give you guys a quick refresher. So number 20, what you have to do in this one is you are going to write an algorithm. You're going to take input an array of numbers, okay, from your terminal, from your command line using process.argv. Once you have those numbers, you're going to sort them out. Okay, use the JavaScript sort method and complete this exercise. Okay, so input an array of numbers and then sort them out in ascending order. All right. Please make sure Google and find out how do you sort numbers. If you haven't already done so, it's a little bit different. It's not a straightforward sort, especially for numbers. For strings in JavaScript, it's easy. For numbers, I think you need to pass in a function and then sort them. All right, so we'll take 15 minutes, take a look at this. Again, just a number, array of numbers and sort them in ascending order. Remember from your command line, all of those numbers are going to come as strings. Okay, so you'll have to convert them as well. Um, the rest of it is by space, right? In process, in terminal. Yes. Right. Well, you don't have to calculate it. You can make the assumption. So how do you run the program? You're going to say uh, node, right, and then your sort .js, right, and everything else is you can assume as an array of numbers. So for example, space 10, space 4, space 1, space 20, space 30, 35. Why do you need to know how many? Uh-huh. Right. What's the length of this array? No, no. What is it? What is this array for? Yeah. So, so process dot rb. Rb is the array, right? So you can do rb dot length which will give you the length, right? So this is an array of numbers which will be here. Anyone able to complete this exercise? Oh, yay, nice. Okay.
No. This is not going to be number.
Got it working? All right. Let's take a quick look at this one. Hopefully most of you guys were able to get this. It's so what we need to do is we are going to get numbers from command line, right, in our Node app, and then we are going to sort them out. Okay. So how does our terminal kind of look like? So you're going to say node, and then the file name, command sort solve.js, right? And then a series of numbers. So let's say 13, 11, 4, 1, 21, 34, something like this, right? This is going to be our input. All right. So this input is coming in processed argv. So we can save this input. So let's say input array, and this is going to be a process.argv, the whole array. Okay, so this is going to have all these numbers and something more, but it's going to be an array, and it's going to be an array of strings. So we need to convert this into an array of numbers, but basically input array will have all these numbers over here, plus 2 more indexes, right? So let's go ahead and convert this into numbers. So for I is equal to input array dot length and I plus plus. This is going to be our loop. All right. But are we concerned? We are only concerned with these input, right? But we know that process argv has 2 more elements. First, index number 0 and 1. So we don't need to worry about 0 and 1 because that's not what we're looking for, right? So we'll skip the first 2. This means we need to start from 2. Is that clear? Right? All right, so now all we need to do is convert our array. So let's go ahead and create num array. Okay, and this I'm going to hold my numbers, convert them and hold them over here. So I'm going to say num array dot push, and then I'm going to let's do parse in for simplicity, or you can use parse flow, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to use input array and I. Okay, this is going to convert my array into numbers, right? Each input is going to be converted into numbers, and then I'm going to save it into my num array, the new array. Okay, let's go ahead and test this out before we proceed. Make sure that our array is good. Okay, this is my so node, and then let's go ahead and copy this. So at this point, it should just output these numbers. Okay. So you see, there are no quotes. This tells me this is actually being converted into numbers. Otherwise, you should see quotes or single quotes over here. Okay. After this is the sorting part, and you can use the num array dot sort method. Okay. But sort method works easy on the strings, right? If you guys Googled it, you should see that you need to create a function and then pass in those two numbers and kind of create a function, something like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a function. Let's call it sort. You can call it anything you want. So sort number. Okay, and this takes in two parameters, a and b, a comma b, and then return a minus b. Okay, and then back to our numbers array, we are going to call this function sort number. Okay, and you can simply just log this, so you don't have to write a new statement. Okay, let's go ahead and run this and see if this works. So initially the unsorted one, and then it sorts and looks good. Okay, if I want to sort it in descending order, you can just switch this to B and A, and this should sort it in descending order now. Okay, so this was more just a recap how to use process argv input, and kind of this was something extra. You might have used it, you might not, I'm not sure, depending on your maybe in a project or something, or you must have seen it. But that's how you sort numbers. String is simple, but for numbers you have to pass in a function with two parameters, and based on this calculation, JavaScript sorts those numbers. So basically you get two numbers. For example, we'll send 13 and 11, and based on this thing, it's going to know whether you're trying to sort it in ascending order or descending order. Go ahead and close it. Okay, any questions? Okay, all right. So now let's get back to our NPM. So the next one, I'm going to do a quick refresher of our Axios package, and then I'll show you a new package, and I'll quickly write code for those two, so that we are kind of aware what we learned on Tuesday. And then you guys will do a little bit bigger activity where you will use those packages. Actually, a new package. So let's go back to our NPM website, and then let's go back to our Axios. Okay, this is a module that we looked at on Tuesday, and we'll take a look at it again today. All right. So again, NPM is Node Package Manager. It is a site. It actually is a package manager. It manages different third-party packages or modules, whatever you want to call it. But that's what it is. Okay. It hosts all those packages, and you can install those packages based on your need in your program. Okay. And then the way you do it is, let's go back here. Let me open my folder. and we will go ahead and create a Axios, and then I'll create a Axios JavaScript. Okay. All right. So going back over here, let's see. So the code is you can simply copy paste. I'll quickly try to write this out. So the first thing is we need to import the package. All right. So const Axios is equal to require. What is require doesn't show. Require, and then the package name that we're trying to import is also Axios, and then the code is using the get. This is going to make an HTTP get call. Okay, so Axios dot get. Okay, and then since this will return a promise, we'll use the then function, and then to catch errors, we'll use the catch function. All right, we'll skip the get, the finally one, because we are not doing any code that we need that method for. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill out our get method. Takes in a URL. Okay, so let's go back to our, I'm going to copy the OMDB one from the previous class, and that's what we'll use. Let's use this one. Let's run this. Okay, URL from OMDB. I'm using the key. Okay, and in our then function, it returns response similar to our Ajax call. So we'll code that out. Returns a response, and then simply we'll just console log response dot data, because data object has all the information coming from OMDB. All right. The last thing is the errors is going to return you an error object. Let's go ahead and console log that as well. So error is going to be another callback function. It's going to give me one argument, error, and then we can simply log our error. Okay, this is what we saw. Three callback functions. Three functions because it returns just an HTTP async call, and this is how you do it. Okay. Now if I run this, it should give me an error, and I hope everybody understand why it gives me an error. So if I do node, okay, it says that the cannot find module line number 1, and the solution for this is npm install, because I did not install this package, right? And the hint is that I don't have node underscore modules folder over there. So let's go ahead and do a npm I or install Axios, and this should go ahead and install this package, and there it is. Okay, so now if I run this, it should give me some data back. Node Axios.js, and here's the response back. Okay, go back here. Oh, did I type in something? What did I type in? Oh, I have a plus. Oh, that's weird. Okay, that's better. All right. Any question? Does everybody understand how we use the package? How did we see the documentation, and how this third-party module is working? Any questions? npm uninstall and then do it. Or you can simply, it's a local, you can just delete this. You can delete this folder. Yeah. Yes. The dot for errors, if there's any errors, that's yes. Yeah. If there is any error thrown from this method or this method, it's going to catch it, and it will catch it over here. Then you can do whatever you want over here. Okay, that's what the catch method does. It catches exceptions or errors. All right, any other question? Good. All right, you guys can use this module on your own now, kinda. All right, so before I leave you guys on your own, let me show you one more example. This is weather-js. Okay, another module gives you some weather information, right? I'll quickly code out. Again, all I'm doing is I'm actually just coding whatever the documentation is. Okay, just to show you guys if you guys want to use any other package. So go ahead and close this. Let's go ahead and create a weather. Okay, weather.js. So much simple. I don't have to create HTML file and CSS and do all that stuff. All right. So this is how do we use it? Simply the same thing. You start with importing the package. So const weather is equal to require package name is weather. Okay, and then looks like the method is called find and it has some options. An option looks to be an object because of the curly braces. That's first argument. And the second argument is a callback function which will have error and result. Okay, remember previous one, they had then, catch, and everything. So that's how they coded, right? These guys over here who created weather.js, they are doing a little bit differently, right? It doesn't matter. The thing is, we need to read the documentation and kind of understand. So that's what they're telling, that they have a find function and it takes in two arguments. All right, the first argument is an object, and the second argument is the callback function, which is going to have the result or the response, and as well as the error. Okay, so let's go ahead and follow the same thing. So it's called weather.find method. All right, and find method takes in two arguments. The first is going to be an object, and the second is a callback function with two parameters, error and result. Okay, and what does my first parameter include? So looks like you need to pass in a property called search, and that will have the place that you're trying to search the weather. And then the other property is degree type, which is Fahrenheit or centigrade. Okay, so these are the two properties in this object that you need to pass. Okay, so search and degree type. So let's go ahead and do a search. This is going to be a string, and the second is degree type, which is also a string, correct? Yeah. Okay, so this is my object that I need to pass in, and then a callback function. Wow, that looks weird. Oh, let's do this. Okay, that's better. All right, so let's go ahead and put in a place. Okay, and let's put in Fahrenheit, and then we're going to get the result. So they're doing the same thing if there's any error. So let's go ahead and handle that. If error, if there's any error, let's do a return console.log error. So it's going to output error and then return, so that it doesn't proceed. And the next thing is console.json.stringify result. You guys remember what stringify does? What does this tell you? It's kind of coming, the result that will come back would be in JSON format. It kind of looks weird. That's why they are suggesting that you use the JSON.stringify method. So kind of looks pretty. Okay. But looks like they have like 3 parameters being passed to this one. So if I Google stringify, let's take a look. Oh, no, let's go to the official documentation. Let's look at this one. Okay, So it has three parameters. The first is the value that you're trying to stringify, so that's okay. Replacer function, which is actually null in the documentation. So you can ignore this one for now. The third parameter is a number, and it looks like it's the space. Okay, so it's going to add white spaces up to 10. Okay, so you can give any number, and that's how many spaces it's going to add between the properties. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try and see how this works. So console log json.stringify method. The first is the value, which is result. The second is a replacer. We don't need that for now. And then the number of spaces we need. Okay. So that should complete this method. Let's go back and make sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and run this. Node weather. Oh, so I did not install the module, right? So let's go ahead and install npm iweather-js. Is that what it's called? Let's go back and make sure weather-js. Okay. So this should go ahead and install this package, and there it is. Wow, it's using all of these packages. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and run this now. Node weather. Oh, still not working. Oh, this is the problem. Thank you. Weather-js. And that's better. All right. So you see, it kind of looks like nice string format. That's the stringify doing. So if you add more spaces, it will. This is the number of spaces that it's talking about. So it's adding like 2 spaces between the properties. So let's go ahead and if I increase it to 5, so it's adding little more spaces. Okay, so that's what that method is doing. Let's go ahead and change it to centigrade and see if this is also working. Okay, so the numbers are now being coming in centigrade. Interesting. All right. All right, questions. Does everybody understand how to use these packages? Okay. Again, pretty straightforward. I don't remember any of these. It's just looking at the documentation and seeing how they're using it. Now, there might be some more advanced depending on your need. We'll have to go to their documentation and see. But this is how you would look into any package and see how to use it. Now, my recommendation is any package that you're choosing for your project or homework or assignment or anything, make sure it's being updated. It has good documentation, um, and kind of is easy to follow along, right? You'll run into some packages that don't have good documentation or are not being updated. And you guys saw in JavaScript libraries also that some of I know some people came, they were like for the APIs that, oh, it's not being updated. So make sure the packages that you're using are still being used and are providing relevant information. Okay. All right, any question? The main part is, do you guys understand NPM, why it is required, and how do you import or how do you use third-party modules? Any questions on NPM, Node? Got it? Good? Maybe? Okay, all right, so let's do this. Let's do the next exercise, and you guys will complete this one. It's a similar, but it just uses a different package. And remember, I slacked out. I hope you guys signed up for MapQuest because that's what this ID, this npm package uses. Okay. So go to, so the package is called Node Geocoder. So please go to npm, search for this package, look at the documentation, and see how you can use it. Okay. Um, it is a geocoder which tells you some information about a location, and it can be plugged in with Google Maps or MapQuest, and it has different options. But for this class, we are going to use MapQuest. Okay, it's easy. I don't want to get into Google Maps and the complication around it. MapQuest is easy. I hope you signed up. You should get an API key, and then follow the instructions that are on Node Geocoder and see if you can get some information back from them. Okay, now you have, I think, two options over here. Let's see. Oh, some documentation. Some other stuff is kind of already there, but I would recommend looking at the documentation and doing this on your own versus following this, um, because this will help you understand how to read the documentation, how to come up with this code. It's pretty clear on the website. I checked it out. It's extremely similar to what the JS file has. So start with hard coding a location, and then eventually, if you are done with that, don't hard code the location. Ask the user using process.argv. Ask the user what location they're trying to search for. Okay. Initially, you can start with a hard coded location, just like examples that I showed you, and then if you are done with that, try to see if you can take a user input and then search a location dynamic. Um, you guys should be done in 10 minutes. No? All right. How about 25 minutes? I have faith you guys can do it. What is it? At least with a hard coded location and npm packages installed and something getting back. Let's see, node geocoder. You find this one? Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to.
No, Tuesday.
Yes. Did you
just give me the key?
No, it was.
You do the ring.
Yeah. Did you find a sub for?
Not yet.
Not yet. Nobody. What's going on?
wants to go to Halloween, I guess.
Usually, it's like people are like, there's a wait list.
Right,
this
for
stuff.
some,
Yeah.
I know. That's what I was like. Everybody usually jumps right on it. Maybe people just didn't see it. JJ asked me which session it was. We put that on there too.
Which one is it?
It's like third session of sequel,
Okay.
so shouldn't be too challenging.
Yeah.
These guys are going to be done, I think. So
They're done next weekend.
right.
Yeah.
So they got 4 TAs that could jump in, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. No, I figured I missed it last year
Oh yeah.
because I was in the class.
Yeah.
And it's like, my boys will be going around trick or
Yeah.
treating. Actually, I took up a bunch of time because I don't know where you're at, but we can only roll over so much PTO into the new year. So then, like, you get to the end, you have to use up all these days of like. So I had like 16 vacation days I had to use between now and then.
We have unlimited. So there's no rollover.
Yeah, you probably haven't accrued too much yet.
Yeah. Well, no, it's unlimited.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
So I've already taken like 3 days, 4 days off.
Well, the irony, I mean, I remember reading about that.
Yes,
I
I
people
agree.
actually use
Yes,
less
yes.
because
That's the study that shows that people like.
Yep.
So I'm trying not to be that person.
Right, exactly.
Overuse it, then underuse it. I'm like, well, there are so many people who are not using it, so I'm using it.
My work is done.
He's using everybody else.
That's
what I'm saying.
It's
Yeah,
not my fault if I can finish my work 3 times faster than anyone else. That's true.
That's true.
So try putting in. So what's this? Is the dolly on there? You don't want to roll anything to a blank property, right? No, basically all RPs. Yeah, that's why the thing is grabbing your and identifying what your other ones are. You also have track plus place. But that's basically that. So you're gonna want to explore. It looks like it's something with layering that separate. Well, yeah.
Like what you
But I don't.
I know I saw that like terrorist using
If you're doing plus equals, then
well,
yeah, I think I would try doing res plus equals process art because I haven't seen being able to redo that every single time. And then comment out line 26. The whole idea of declaring, yeah. So what you would want to do is probably if there's one, then you want to have it just equal to the first one. Otherwise, you can say. Well, that input was based inside your index. That's why I would like that. Try to put it there. And so now because you put your constant lock inside the outside and wait till that. You don't have to. You would only need to use a template where you're going to put text. Just passing in
It works even if you don't put in by just well, of course you could it works. So it works.
yeah, about battery.
Does it take user input or is it hardware? User input. It's all the yeah, slice and join.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not splicing, I just
Not slice, slice.
not splicing either. I just do it.
Okay, join. You can join instead of
So if I do three,
yeah, you can join on space and this is going to all the
Oh, yeah, but they slice it first too.
yeah, you have to slice it first.
I just use the array. The for loop.
Use a for loop?
Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of for loop, we can use a join.
Yeah.
We're using both.
Yeah.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Because first I'm trying the
I was worried at first because
Which is
the array, and then I'm joining the array with the string.
why are you using for loop?
For the
Oh, so you're creating a new array and then joining it. Right. So you still have an extra for loop. You could just use the slice and then yeah. So you could. Slice will pick off the first two elements and then you can do a join.
I'm always like kind of confused about the just methods of slice and splice and
Oh, okay.
I better put the formula.
Oh, okay. So I see what you're creating an array and then joining it without the first one.
Yeah.
So this kind of takes that for you. Splice will also. How does splice work?
zero slice,
How do you do splice? Yeah.
and then you do 0, 2.
Array dot splice.
0, 2.
Join.
Yep. Well, I didn't join on second line.
Okay. So you can use slice or splice.
So just position 0, take out 2. Although I found out on the slice,
Uh-huh.
you can't assign it to another variable.
You cannot. It's void.
You can't assign it to another variable.
So it returns void.
Let variable equal array dot slice. Maybe in regular JavaScript it's okay, but on the node it wasn't working.
Oh, because it doesn't return anything.
Syntax right there.
Yeah, because it doesn't return anything.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why it's void. So basically, it performs this operation on this array itself. It doesn't return anything. Okay, but that will still. So this then the join won't work over here.
so what I did is I did let address equal array dot join.
So this will. So this. I don't know if this will because it's not returning anything. So you will have to do array dot slice and then array dot join on two different lines because this will get updated and then you just join.
Yeah, I didn't try the same line at all.
Let's see the slice one. array slice JavaScript. Oh, both are same. Okay, so that will work. That should work actually. Slice does the same thing. It doesn't return anything. Actually, it does return. Let's see. Oh, right. So one line would work for slice because slice actually returns the URL. And this one actually doesn't return. Yeah, it's because splice doesn't return. Break.
It doesn't give an error or stop it running.
If you do what?
If you click that join,
Oh, okay, but it doesn't work. Does it work actually?
I just found it first.
Oh, put a join space. Yeah, because your array has spaces. It's not working. It's not joining. But it doesn't get better.
So slice.
Slice actually returns. Yeah, it returns it. What is it?
It should allow you to do one line.
Yeah, because it returns. Slice actually returns a new array. So it slices it and
Yeah,
returns
okay,
it.
yeah. Each prototype function grabs it.
Right.
Know what to grab.
Right. So join is expecting a new array to do it, and that's why this works. This
It doesn't know what to
it
do.
doesn't know what to do. Got it, Irina? You get it? Yeah, because it returns something. Okay. Yeah. 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 So you solve it in that method, and then try to see if there's a better way. So it's possible that everyone wants to
Exactly. That's when you want to start exploring. Like, of course, this area. In this instance, it's coming back.
That would be good. More good job.
All right. Any questions on this one? Did everybody at least get the hard coded part? Everybody good? So I'm not going to solve this one. It's kind of similar to the previous ones. But let me know if you guys have any questions. The documentation looks pretty good. You just had to replace MapQuest if you have the API key, lowercase. If you want to try with Google, you can try with Google as well. But any questions? Everybody understand how to kind of go about it, how to read the documentation and follow along and get the data that you guys are looking for. Okay. All right. So let's take a 15-minute break. We'll start back at 7:55, and then we'll look at some a little bit more advanced concepts. All right.
I still like hearing it because then when I hear it, I like that too. I mean, it's not feeling no have like other
I don't like it.
I like
It's right next to it's full of chicken, shrimp, rice, fries, chipotle. That's I was right.
like you're trying to
Oh, okay.
show them the map. This is the map.
That's my only
Not on the floor. Yeah, I grew up like like right in the middle of the well, not somebody recommended my favorite burger, and it's like kind of feel the same way. It's like I'm like, okay, enough of the jokes. I give it supposed to be funny, but like you're getting way off the point. I recently heard a podcast. I don't know maybe how you yeah, but like I'm going to very early. How your parents like always listen to them stuff that they listened to when they were kids. I feel like that's I just like the stuff. Which led me to podcast.
Did you
All right, let's go ahead and get started for the next part. All right, so this next part is extremely important, so please pay 100% attention. This is a newer concept. I want to make sure everybody understands this. Okay? All right, so you guys solved the previous activity. I did the weather.js one. This next exercise, the code is already done for you. That's not the point. So this next activity, this next solution uses both packages, right? It uses weather.js and node geocoder, okay, and it does something looks like kind of similar code that you guys wrote. Is going to give you information based on gives you weather information and the geolocation. All right, that's what this program does. Right now, the question is, if I want to make this run, what do I have to do? The code, there's no code changes. I put in my API key, and this should be good to go. But if I want this to be successfully run, what do I have to do? Install the libraries. All right, install the modules. And how do I know? Because I don't have the node modules folder, so those are not over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this, and then so what are the two that I need? I need node geocoder, right? So node geocoder. Okay. All right. So I have the new node geocoder installed. Will this work now? No, still no. And why not? Because I don't have the second one installed. Okay. So if you were not watching this terminal, would you be able to tell from node modules that whether whether JS is installed or not? Not really, right? You cannot tell whether this is installed or not. Okay, that's the first problem. Okay, keep that in mind. So, but for now, okay, again, just by looking at these things, you will never be able to figure out, or I wouldn't say never. Maybe you have time, you can like sit through and find out what libraries they're using. But does everybody understand that why do I have these many packages installed? I only installed two packages, Weather JS and Node Geocoder. Why do I have all of these? Yes. Do you guys listen to that, what Chris is saying? So those two packages are using in turn some other packages. Those packages in turn are using some other packages, some other packages. So it's like a dependency graph that a package is using some other package, and it requires all of them. So all of these over here are being used by these two packages. So that's why all of them have to be installed. Okay? So that's why you see a lot of them. All right, let's go back and close this out. Now, now I have my key over here, so this should technically work. If I think I have to give a destination. Let's just give a destination and see if this works. Okay, so this is working. It gives me some information from geocoder. Okay, the first one, and the second one is actually coming from weather.js. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and minimize this. Everybody good so far? Okay. So now, if I want you guys to run the exact same thing, um, what do I have to do? You guys can get the same files over here, whether desk.js and readme, right? And then what do you have to do? You will have to open the JS file. You have to look at the what are the packages over here that are requiring, okay? And then run the same commands, npmi twice, right? Or the other way could be I could zip this whole folder, including the node modules, and send it to you guys. You will download it, and then you don't have to install it. Do you have to install anything if I just zip this folder and give it to you? No. Why? Because all the installation is local. All right, that's the keyword. Local means that the installation is present in this folder, right, inside this. So anything within this folder is trying to access these two packages, functions, properties that are part of these packages is able to do it. Why? Because you have installed these packages locally, and just like not like any other programs on your computer, you can just pass this whole package around and anybody can just unzip it and start using it, right? If you have this folder with all the dependencies, anybody can go ahead and just run this program, right? You don't have to do installation. If this folder is not there, or if one of the packages is missing, then you have to install it. Okay, does everybody understand that? Good. All right, but this is not feasible. Why? Because you see the amount of packages there are. So this is just for two packages. Let's suppose you're using 5 of them in your project. This folder is going to become huge. The size is going to be big. Now, if you delete this folder, you will see almost, it's going to delete like 15 or 20,000 files. If you ever notice, if you go ahead and delete this folder, that's how many files are there in just this folder. Okay? So please note one thing. Passing around this folder is not feasible. Don't ever do it. Okay? This translates to when you are pushing any code to GitHub, this folder should never ever be pushed to your GitHub repo. Okay? Your GitHub repository should never have node_module folder. Okay? If you create a new project in GitHub, remember there's a .gitignore file, right? So if you open up .ignore file for Node.js, you will see that they specify this folder. What they are saying is that when you're trying to push your code to GitHub, ignore this folder. Never push this folder. Okay? So rule of thumb: never push once you're working on your project. Never push node_module folder. Okay? These are all installation files. They are required for your project, but they're not like a part of a project. Like you haven't written the code. Okay, so these actually add extra noise to your project, right? So somebody is downloading, if I'm cloning a repository and you have this folder, it's going to take me like almost like 10-15 minutes to just clone your repository. Why? Because it's going to go ahead and download all of these files and bring it to me. But I don't need them. What I can do is I can install on my own and run your program. Okay? Everybody understand that? Do not push node underscore module folder onto GitHub, okay, or pass it around, okay? So the problem is if somebody else is working on my code and I'm not pushing this folder, right? This folder does not exist. Let's suppose I clone the repository and this is what I'm going to get, right? Now, I have no way to tell what are the packages that are required for this code, right? The only way is I open your JavaScript file, then I go over here and try to find out what are the packages that you are using, right? Let's suppose somebody is following a different standard and they take this and declare this somewhere in the code over here, which is valid from the JavaScript perspective, but then somebody else is looking at their code, they wouldn't know what are the libraries that are required. Okay, so somebody right now we just have one JavaScript file. There could be 5 more, and each one could be using a different package. Right? There's a possibility. So the only way to do is I open your code and then I try to search all the required and see what are the libraries required, and then go ahead and install it and then run this program. Okay. So in order to avoid all of that, that's where package JSON comes in. That's the name of this folder, but that's the concept also. You will notice that there is any Node.js program will have a package JSON file included in it, right? The package JSON file is the one that has all the information about how many packages and what are the packages that your program needs. Okay, so in your GitHub, whenever you're coding, you should not have a node underscore modules folder. You should always have a package JSON file. Okay, and I'll show you how to generate that package file and how it looks like. Okay, it's as the name says, it's a JSON file, but the contents of that package JSON has all the information about your program. Okay, how many packages, what is the name of the program, what is the file to start off with, how many packages are required to run your program, name of each package that is required to run your program. All of that information is in a file. Okay, if you have that file, you can install all the packages without actually looking at the code and trying to find out what packages you need to install. Okay, that's the concept. Questions? Okay, so no node modules, always packages. Yes. Right. So what I was saying is there's a .gitignore file. If you are creating a new project, you will see that it says, let's go to GitHub, quickly show you. So if I create a new repository, right, at the bottom it says add gitignore, right? Usually you guys were selecting none, right? But when you're creating a Node.js program, if you search for Node.js, it's going to, when you create this repository, you will have a README file, and then you're going to have a .gitignore file. .gitignore file consists of folders and files that you never want to upload to your GitHub repository. That's the purpose of this file. So when you are trying to push any code, anything that is present in this .gitignore file is going to ignore and will not push to GitHub, right? So this file kind of makes us do less stupid things. For example, node module, right? I have done it. You know, you don't remember and you push the whole node module folder. But this is the way that you can make sure that none of those things kind of get uploaded. If you select Node.js, what it does is it automatically, it has some standards and it will create a file that caters to Node.js code, right? You have different options over here. Java is there, Android, iOS, C++, all of these languages have some kind of a .gitignore file, okay? Or you can create your own, just put the name dot get ignore, and that will also work. Okay, so for your homeworks, once you are creating a repository, I would highly recommend initialize with the README and then add a dot get ignore file for Node. This way, you will ensure that node underscore module folder is never uploaded to your GitHub. It has, if you open that file, you will see, among other things, there's a node underscore module folder also. Okay? All right, any other questions? Okay, so let's see how do we create this package JSON file. It's pretty easy, and the command is called npm init. Let me clear this. npm init. Okay, so you have to do this only once when you are creating your project, when you're creating your homework. The first time, once you have that package JSON file, you don't have to do npm init again. Okay, so npm init is going to create a package JSON file for you. Okay, and it's going to put it in this folder. All right, so npm init, enter. So it's going to ask you a couple of questions. All right, that's how it builds that package JSON file. Okay, the first question is saying, what do you want your package name to be? Right? If you don't give anything, it's going to create a package with this name. Okay, kind of similar to the folder. If you want a different package name, you can say weather. Let's say weather info. Make sure it's all lowercase. You see all of these are lowercase. So standard is the package name is lowercase. All right. Next question, version. This is the first version. I'm okay with it, so I won't enter anything. I'm just going to press enter. Okay. Description. This program gives weather info, weather and geocode info. Any description. Okay. Entry point. The entry point is the one that your main code basically resides, or when you run your file, you will say node and some file. That's called the entry point. So by default, it finds it out. It says, hey, is this your entry point? If this is the entry point, then just press enter. If it is not, maybe you have a main.js, so you will say main.js and enter. Right now in this program, I don't have anything, and node npm is able to detect the right file, so I'm just going to press enter. Okay, test command. We're going to ignore test command for now. Test command is used for when you write unit test cases for your Node.js program. For now, we haven't covered it, so we'll ignore that. So I'll just press enter. Okay, Git repository. You can get the link from your GitHub, put it over here. That's what this is for. Okay, keywords, those are like the tags. If you want, again, these are all optional. Weather, geocode, those two should be good for me. Okay, author, you can put your name, don't put your name, up to you guys. License, these are all different type of licenses. You remember in GitHub, it has license options. So if you leave it, it's going to automatically put a ISC license, or you can put MIT or whatever license you can find. Okay, for now, we'll keep this one. And then it's going to give you a JSON format. It's saying, this is what I'm going to create. Does this look okay? For the most part, yeah, looks good. So I'm going to say yes, and then it's going to go ahead and create a package JSON file for me. Let's go back here and look at our package JSON file. Okay, package JSON, but in actual it's package.json. JSON is the extension, but you will hear people calling it package JSON file. All right. Any questions on this? Does everybody understand how to create a package JSON file? Okay. Yeah, before you install packages, just do it once. Now your package JSON is there, and I will show you it will now automatically get updated. Right now, do you see any package information over here? The dependent packages, nothing is over here. These are just the keywords. But looking at the package JSON, I cannot still tell what are the packages required for this. And I will go ahead and fix it. Any questions on package JSON? npm init, create the package JSON file. Okay? All right. So since I'm the author, right, I know what needs to be done. What are the packages that I need? I need a... So I'm going to open package JSON file over here, and you can see on the fly what happens over here. npm I what was it, node geocoder? Geocoder, is that the correct one? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and install this. It installs, and then did you see what happened in package.json? If you blink, you're going to miss it. All right, so what happened was it automatically updated my package.json with a dependency, right? It recognized as soon as I install, I'm the author, so I'm creating the file. I know what I need to do, right? But as soon as I installed a dependency, a package, if there's a package.json file, Node.js is automatically going to go ahead and put it as a dependency. Okay, so if you're trying something out and you still have a package.json, remember it's by default, anything that you install is going to put it in your dependency. If you don't need it, go ahead and delete it. Okay, so for example, the next one I need is my weather.js. Now watch the dependency object. You see that? Right? So this will only work if you have a package.json file in your project, in your folder. Okay? So this is the default behavior of Node.js. Anything that you install now, it is automatically going to create an object called dependencies and it's going to put it over here. Okay? What this is saying is that to run this program, these are the two required things. Okay? Any questions? All right. Now what happens is, now if I want to give this file, if I upload it to GitHub, and let's suppose you go ahead and clone this repository, this is how it's going to come. I'll come back to this one later on. Okay, this is how you will see my folder. Okay, because I cannot upload my node module, so this is how it's going to come out as. Okay, a package.json file, my JavaScript, and then a README file. Okay, everybody understand till this point? Let me go ahead and clear. Now, this is how it works. Since I have a package.json file, my assumption is, oh, this means all the dependencies, everything that is required to run this program are present in package.json. Okay, this is the assumption that every engineer has. If you have a package.json file, it has to be updated. It has to have all the dependency. Nobody is going to open the file and kind of check. Okay, so if I am downloading your code and this is your code, my assumption is package.json has all the dependencies. Okay, now what I have to do is I have to do npm I. That's all. npm I or install. No package name, nothing. What's going to happen is if I do npm I, Node.js is going to go ahead and look for a package.json file. It's going to open it, it's going to look into dependencies and going to install all the dependencies automatically. So I will do npm I and you will see all my dependencies that are present in my package.json file is going to go ahead and install all of them. Okay, and now I can just run my program. And it should run. Yes. Yes, there's going to be only one per folder. Yes. Okay, and then once somebody else downloads it, and then they're like, oh, I need this module also, they would install doing npm install weather.js, and it will automatically get uploaded over here. Somebody who clones it, they would just run npm I. It should get everything now. Okay, let me do this one more time. Again, this is how your GitHub repository should look like. Package.json, README, and whatever your JavaScript files are. All right, now if I want to run this program, all I have to do is npm I. What happens is Node.js searches for package.json file, opens it up, looks at the dependencies, and install all the dependencies that are present over here. Okay, npm I or npm install both are same without any package name. Okay, but the author or you who are creating it the first time, you have to create npm init, create the package file, then install these packages individually so that these get added over here. Or you can create it manually, like create an object dependencies and put it over here. This is your file. You can do anything you want. Just the format has to be correct. Okay? All right, questions? Yes.
Well, when you're uploading everything to the GitHub, you said you had that git ignore. Does that only happen once and it's always going to ignore everything?
Yes, it opens once. Yeah, every time you push, it's going to check that file and it's going to make sure nothing, anything that is in get ignore file is going to make sure that's not being pushed.
So you just have to do it once, and every time you push, you'll
Yeah,
check that
yes,
file
yes.
and
You just have to have that ignore file on the root just as your readme file.
Okay.
Yes.
Otherwise, you have to delete them before you.
Yes, yes. Otherwise, you will have to delete those and push. Yeah. So that's why I recommend when you create your GitHub repository, always have a README and always have a git ignore file depending on what language you're working on. So for us, it's Node.js, so it'll be Node.js. Yes.
So there was like the insertion point, or what was it called when you did the init?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if you have multiple packages and multiple JavaScript files?
Right. So these are multiple packages, right? So you have to install each one of them.
Right.
You, the author, has to do it, and then they will keep adding the code.
So what if you have a project and you start having more JavaScript files?
Yeah.
And different files are using
Uh-huh.
different packages?
Right. Doesn't matter. You will still do npm install, and it will add it to the same.
I guess my question is kind of like how does it require
You can have.
going across multiple files?
So I can create two different files, one node geocoder, one weather, and both will have different requires, but they are still part of the same folder.
Sure.
So you still will have one package JSON file, and both will be installed because at some point you need these two packages, even if they are different files. The only thing that's going to change is in your package JSON file, you see the main one, so you will have to tell which is your starting point. That's where does your code start from. That's the going. If you have more than 2, 3, 4, 5 JavaScript files, this one you have to specify which is your main one. This is the entry point of my code, and this is where everything begins. But you still have one package JSON. Doesn't matter where the requires are. All it does is it looks into this. As long as these dependencies are present over here, it's going to install it, no matter where your requires are. This is what npm node is looking for. Does that answer? Kinda. Mostly. Okay. Okay.
So say I have a JavaScript file in the package.json file.
Yes.
I'm working in a group and he has both as well.
Yes.
We both push both files up.
Okay. One has to go first. Okay. Right?
So would it replace
Yes. Well, depending on if you do a merge, that's so both cannot go together. Do we understand that? One has to go first and the other one is okay. So whoever goes first, you have to pull that down. If you don't want it, delete it, update it, and then make those changes and then push it again.
So you're gonna always only have one package.
Yes. On this folder, one. Yes.
But you can have more than separate folders.
More than what?
Separate folders.
You can have separate folders, but as part of your main app, right? As this one, Node.js will only look for a package JSON that's on your root file. That's on your root folder. Just like your README, just like your ignore file. This has to be on the root of your folder, and when you do npmi, it always looks for this file on the root folder. If you have somewhere hidden inside, it's not going to work. It's not going to find that file. It's looking for this on the root folder. Who's including packages are always updating the same package. As Sarah is saying, somebody in the group requires a Axios package, right? What they will do is they will do the same thing, install Axios. Axios will be included over here, and this will show up over here, right? Because the program cannot run without Axios. If it is over there, this means your program requires it. Nobody would be able to run it, so that's why you need it. Okay, and all you have to do is, again, if somebody pushes, you download it, just run npmi. If it already exists, it's going to override it or ignore it. If there's a new package, it's going to install it. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay? All right, any other questions? No questions? All right, so I have two questions, and somebody asked me those questions. I was expecting somebody would ask that question, so I'm going to give you. The first question is, what is this carrot thing? Somebody asked me that. What is that carrot thing? Any idea? No? All right, so somebody just asked me so that I feel better that somebody actually in the class asked me this question. What is it? A good question. All right, so carrot tells you, this is saying, go ahead and find this package with a version number 3.24.0 or above. Very important, and keep this in mind. So if there's a new version and somebody runs your package, let's suppose they include a version 3.25 now, and this is your package JSON, is going to go ahead and install 3.25. Why? Because you are saying, hey, go ahead and install any package. Minimum version is this, maximum whatever the new version is available. Okay, that's what the carrot thing is. So anything above this. Okay, here's the dangerous part. So if they release a version 4.0.0, so if there's a change in the first number, that's very dangerous. This means it's called breaking changes. What they are saying is, if they change the first number, not the second or the third, if they change the first number, this means that they have made significant changes in this package that is most probably going to break your code. Yes, that's what the first number means. So if you have this and they release a version 4, you're going to actually download the version 4 and you run your code and it's going to break. It has happened to me. I have done this and I know for sure. Okay? And the problem was that we had this carrot sign, and this carrot sign says, hey, download any version this or greater. Okay? If you don't want that, usually what people would do is they would remove this, because you have tested, you have created your project using this particular version and you're 100% sure it works on it. So that's why you will see a lot of people kind of remove that carrot, because they don't want the new version unless it is tested, it has been done, and that's what they do it. Okay? That's the first question. Any questions on this? Everybody understand this? All right. The second question that nobody asked is, what is this package log JSON? So somebody asked me that also. Excellent questions, Paul. I'm glad you asked me that. All right. So you saw the problem with the carrot sign. So in the new versions of NPM, they realized that, oh, okay, this is a big problem because we include this by default. So what they did was they started including this package log. So by default, when you do a npm I install everything, you will see that this file is generated package log JSON. Okay. This file is also goes into your GitHub. What this file does is it sees what version you installed. So for now we installed the version 3.4, 3.24. In this package log.json, it keeps that version, and it keeps versions of all the dependencies that are working for this package. Okay, so when somebody installs this package log, locks you into exactly this version and only installs files related to this version and not the upper version. That's why, so in the newer versions of Node.js, they have started including this package log.json. Again, this file has all the, you see this careless combined stream. Am I using this? No. But these packages are using this actually. Okay, so these packages, since these are further packages, they also have version numbers. So your package log.json actually locks those version numbers and says that this code is tested or is good for exactly these version numbers. Okay, so this is the solution for this carrot thing. So this will ensure that nobody makes a mistake and install the newer version that can potentially break your code. Okay, if this was like 2-3 years ago, they didn't have this package log, and then you would have to actually remove this. Not even 2, like 3-4 years ago. Right. So when I was coding in this, they didn't have package lock, and that's why we faced all these kind of issues. Okay. So just to avoid those, they have started including package log. You can delete it, it's fine, but then just make sure that these versions are, you are fine with either the upgrade. Some cases you might be okay, you'll be like, okay, I'm fine with the changes. Most of the time, I would suggest just make sure, because this is the version that I have created the code and tested, so I want to make sure that this is the one that runs. Okay, demo day comes in, the release weather 3.0, what happens? Oops, the whole program breaks, right? Because the version number, they have maybe changed a lot of stuff that you were expecting, now it's not there. So it's better to either, if you are going by the default setting, then make sure that the package lock is there, or just remove the caret. Okay, good questions. All right, any other questions? Yes.
So let's say I remove them,
Yes.
and then somebody else pushes for me, and I clone and I pull that, and they didn't remove it, and they put those back in it.
Yeah. That's the GitHub issue. Yeah, That's this is your code basically. It's just a file, but GitHub doesn't know it's a package JSON or not. So that's the code fault. Yes. So you will have to, when you're downloading, either it will say, oh, merge conflict. So either don't merge it, or say, oh, ignore the incoming changes and don't get this. You could do this, and then you push it. That's the issue. But yeah, you will get that back. Yes. Yeah.
So, the package lock,
Yeah.
is that what it uses to run?
Yes. Well, it still uses your package JSON, and then it, when it's installing, it goes start. The starting point is package JSON, and then it says, oh, this is I need to install, and this is the version this or above. Let me go and see if there's a package log JSON. So maybe I don't need to get the latest version. So if this is present, then it's going to go inside over here and then make sure all the dependencies. You see, there's no caret sign over here because it's locked. They have locked it. So it's going to make sure that these are the only versions that are being installed. If it's not there, then it will just ignore and then follow this. Make sense? Okay. What was your, repeat your question on.
Yes, I don't.
Okay, so what is, do you understand what this is doing right now over here?
Yeah,
3.24 or above? Yes. So if there's a 4.24, it's going to install that. Right. But first you understood this part, right? It's going to install the latest one, right? So once, and do you understand that Node geocoder has multiple dependencies on different packages? That's why your Node module folder has like million or other folders, right? So each one of them has a version, right? Each one of them actually has a package JSON. If you open this, you will actually see a package JSON within it. Okay, so if you look over here, they have their own package JSON. So Node.js is actually recursively going into and installing all these files over here. Okay. Now package lock, what it does is it knows what are the dependencies, what are the further child packages required for this. It knows each version, and if you open this up, you will see that it actually knows each one of them, right? So what it does is it, instead of the caret sign, it says, oh, this is the version that works. That works as in like that is a version that you installed. The 3.24 dependencies are 1.08, 1.02, and all of this, right? So once somebody else comes and downloads your code and tries to run package JSON, it looks at this one. It says, oh, there's a caret sign. Oh, let me make sure there's a package lock. If it is there, then it's going to stop over here. It's not going to get the latest version install. It's going to install this and all the dependencies that are tied to whatever versions they are required. If package lock is not there, then it's going to go ahead and just upgrade everything. Yes. Well, so but they didn't remove it because again, it depends on the use case. So instead of removing it, now don't ask me why they didn't do it. They didn't remove it. Instead, they added a new file over here. Yeah, that's how they. Might be because there are so many dependencies and they didn't want to lock into it. Maybe that. But they didn't remove this. They actually included a new file. Again, you are seeing this because we are all using the new version of Node.js. 4 years ago, if you were using it, you will never see a package lock and you will have to manually kind of figure it out. Okay? Yes.
In the package log,
Uh-huh.
one of those, some of those dependencies
Oh, I don't see it, but like a tilde next to it.
on their requires on some of those
Like at the end?
in the beginning instead of
In the beginning? All right. Anybody knows what tilde does? Oh, tilde is
squiggly.
the squiggly thing.
Oh, yeah.
This thing.
Okay.
Anybody knows that? It's not there?
Yeah,
Ethan is moving. He's going to find out. Ethan, what does tilde do? I think it says exact version, maybe. I don't know. Yes, sir.
So if you were, so say you didn't have a log file, and you were installing a new one, but your vulnerabilities, would it show what says found your vulnerability?
Yeah.
So it would show, like, say you were installing the latest one, would it say?
These are coming from the packages that you're installing. So some cases, I don't know if you guys read like a year ago, um, there was a Node package. It's an extremely popular one, Node Mon. So the guy who was quitting the company, so whoever installed the latest version had that vulnerability, and it was they weren't able to figure out. That's the thing with these modules are you see how many are being installed, and nobody actually goes and looks into it. Well, not nobody, but most of the people would never look into it. So that's why they have some standards. They're trying to make it better that you are aware what package is doing or what it is. So you could have some saying 100 over there instead of zero. This just basic. It's not that now your site is hackable or something. There's a potential. That's they're just trying to warn you. Hey, the package that you're using can be exploited or have been found out to be exploited by hackers. That's what they're saying.
It's like they're warning.
Yeah, they're warning. Hey, either change the package or keep using it. It's up to you. I usually ignored these things. Again, I don't have a site that have million users or I haven't created anything. But if it's a more professional one or if it is an organization, then yes, these are keenly looked at. Each package goes through a security review and they make sure that the package is secured and it's not doing something that it's not saying. Because a lot of packages have for example your keystrokes or something. I mean they could install anything and you wouldn't know. So that's why it says over here. Okay. What else? Any other questions? Does everybody understand package, npm init, npm I? Got it? So this is extremely important because your homeworks and everything will have this file. None of these NTAs are just going to do npm I and run. If your code breaks, this means your package JSON is not updated. And I don't think they're going to look into your code and try to find out which one of them is. Maybe Ethan would. Ethan nice enough to actually look at the code. Nope. All right. Nope. So make sure our package JSON is updated. All right. Any questions? All right. So let's go ahead and. So I'm going to show you one more npm package, and that is actually important for your homework as well. So we'll quickly take a look at it and see how that works. And this is called Inquirer. Inquirer. It's a really nice tool. So for now, for inputs, taking user input, we have been using process.argv, right? Somebody enters and then if it is an array or an address and everything, okay? So Inquirer, this package makes it a little bit more fancier. What it does is it gives you a better input, basically. Okay, it has some choices. For example, let's see, input, number, confirm. So it has some dialog boxes that come up, and this is what you will be using in your homework for user input. Okay, let me show you what it actually does and might make it a little bit more clear. Let's go back here. Let me put my Alright, so let's go ahead and create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Inquirer. Alright, create a file, inquirer.js. Okay, let's see what are they saying. From the documentation, it looks like install, it returns a promise. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So const inquirer require okay, and then it says inquirer.prompt.then. So inquirer.prompt.then. Okay, let's go ahead and put in new lines, format our code. All right, so what it says is the prompt takes in an array, okay, and then takes a callback function. This is still a function. It's the new way to write this function in new version of JavaScript. Not right now. Later at some point we'll take a look at how this works. But this is just a callback function. So prompt takes as an array, and then the then function, you need to pass a callback function with one parameter, and they're calling it answers. So let's go ahead and call this answers response. Anyone would do. Okay, array and answers. All right, everybody following till now? Okay, again, just looking at the documentation and following. Now let's see what prompt, what goes in your prompt and what goes in your answers. So prompt will take an array of questions. Okay, for example, you're creating a program, you're asking, hey, enter the name of the city, enter the name of the state, enter name of country, or enter username, enter password, those kind of questions. All right, more interactive. So versus using process.argv, this is somebody created this Inquirer package, and you will see they have a little bit nicer visualization versus process.argv. Okay, for example, let's go ahead and ask our first question. So for the questions, these are the properties that you can use. Okay, there's some validation. We'll start with the first three. Okay, so looks like you can give a type, name, and message. So I'm going to create, this is an array of questions, and each question is an object. Okay, so I'm going to create my first question, and I require type, name, and message. Let's say type, we'll come back and fix this, message, and then the last one was name. Okay, so let's see what each one of them does. So these are the type of input that are given to you. It could be an input, number, confirm, list, dollar, expand, checkbox, password editor. Right? Let's start with input and see what input does. So I'm going to put input over here. Okay, message, let's say enter your name. Okay, that's my message. And then the name to use when storing the answer. So this is basically like a variable name that what do you want your answer to be stored as? Which variable name? Okay, so let's go ahead and say let's store it as name. Okay, your name. Let's call it. The reason I'm doing this so that you can see that this is different from this. Okay, so my one question is complete. Let's go back and see what the answer is. So for answer, let's go ahead and do a console log and see what comes in your answers. Console log answers. Okay, so far so good. All right, so we are just following the documentation. We're making use of the 3 properties that are mentioned. And let's go ahead and run this. Before I run this, I need my inquirer installed. So npm I inquirer. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and clear this so you guys can see. Now I'm going to run my program, node inquirer.js. You see this? This is how it shows up. Enter your name, name, and then this is the output. This is what comes in your answers. Okay, so how do I access this? This is JSON file, right? Well, I mean, it's a JSON format, it's an object, right? So you can do answers dot your name, which is exactly same as whatever name you're giving it over here. Okay, so if I run this again, it gives me the exact thing. Okay, let's try one. Let's try a few more. So let's suppose I have more questions. So I'm going to create one more question. So this is an array of objects, right? So I just include one. Same thing, I need a type. Okay, and then I need a message. That will be my question, and then I need to save it to this basically variable. All right, so let's try a different type. Let's do, oh, where do the types go? Let's try password. Let's try a password. Enter your password. Okay, and I'm going to store this in variable called password. Okay, so let's go back here, run our program. Let's see what happens this time. So the first question comes up. You're going to answer that. Okay, enter your password. So you see, if you choose a type password, it actually hides. So I'm actually typing, but you can't tell because it's a password. Fancy, yeah? When you hit enter, I'm not outputting the answer, so I can go back here. Let's go back here, enter your name, password, and that's where it comes in. Okay, so for the user, of course, you are not going to display this information. I'm showing you that this is how you get whatever the user is typing in. Of course, over here, you will have that password and you will do whatever login information you're trying to do. But this is how inquire works. Let's go ahead and try, there's a checkbox one that looks, I think that's even more fancy. So let's go ahead and include, oops. Okay, let's do one more, and then you guys will try this. So same thing, type, same 3 properties, okay. That's where, okay. Let's try Let's try, let's see, list. So list should actually list some things. For list, I think there is this thing, choices. So you're trying to list, if you're trying to create a list, remember you need to use choices. So let's suppose, what is your favorite Avenger? Let's say fav. Okay, and then you have to give a choices, which is going to be an array. Then you can list your choices here. Let's say okay, so this should give me some answers. Let's go ahead and see if this works. Okay, so name, password, and then you see the choices. You can actually use your keyboard to choose which one instead of typing it. Fancy stuff, yeah? So let's say this, and there are your answers. Okay, the thing to remember is all the questions are shown first and then your answers come back. So all of them are going to run through, right? And then your answers are going to be given. Now, based on your answer, you want to do anything, that's where your code goes. For example, if I choose a favorite Avenger, you want to go to Axios, look up OMDB and find the movie or something, everything goes over here. Okay. There are, then you have confirm and checkbox. I will leave those to you guys for the next exercise for you guys to try. Okay. Any questions on this? So this is part of your requirement of your homework actually. So you'll have to use the inquirer, ask some questions, and then kind of do this. Okay, so let's do this. Let's take 10 minutes and look at the next exercise. Make sure you're able to install inquirer, try a few different options, and then I will show you one last thing, and then that will be homework. This is exercise number 27. Let's see. So in the previous geocode, you were asking, you were using process argv to get the information. So instead of that, just change it and try to see if you can use inquirer instead. So if you completed the previous one, the geocode one, you can use the same one. Instead of asking for a city, use inquirer and see how you would change the code to use inquirer to get the same information. So so this is what you guys kind of solved it, right? Instead of using the process argv, see how you would use inquirer, get the information, get the address, and then pass it over here. Okay, so this would be part of your then function basically, and then you will have your prompt and inquirer on the top. Your answers dot address will basically call this function. Okay, and this file actually has package JSON. Let's get both packages. Okay, and then in your package over here, or in your JavaScript file, you are going to, instead of this thing, you're going to replace it with inquirer. Okay, because process argv, you're trying to get the address from the user. I think just use the input one, enter an address as type input, and then when you get your answer, pass it over here, and that should take care of it. So if you go to the documentation over here, so inquirer.prompt, start with this, Okay, this is an array of objects, and your objects are the questions you are asking. Okay, and then the question would be enter the address. So you would say type would be input, give it a name, message, enter an address.
The geocode.
Geocode, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, number 27. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can't use arrow.
What happened?
So his is coming up undefined, and like the question will pop up, and then the response is coming back. It's something with the promise. Um,
Are you console logging? Oh, no. So, you see what's happening before them? Yeah. So these boards are AC calls. So this is getting fired. Yeah, they will, right? Because you have. So it's coming from there. There's that async call. Yeah, you have to move all of those inside. Packages, and if it exists, then it should work. Is the packages file there?
It was,
What?
yeah, install.
Is it in the right order?
It was all inside unsolved, right? So you just have the package JSON, and then you just created the package log. But initially, you just did install inside.
Package listen. there's more packages.
So that's why.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it work inside, but outside that,
Exactly. Yeah. And then these ones, like right now, it's not a big deal because we're requiring like 1 or 2 things. If you were working on both,
I'm not sure what you did before. It was slow because I think everybody is trying to download these apps. Should have.
This is still so have you selected it's like so did you take that?
yeah. And so you can see like if you're working
Does that work for you?
giant project or whatever, like you're using a ton of packages, you put it in the oh, so you install this. And if there's a package JSON in there, then that will go
So
grab
it's
packages that are listed and create
oh so
it's not going to
save that location.
So to replace instead of doing process
Yeah, I did. No, because I had like
very first thing.
Yours is I get words.
I'm still using RV. Where do your fires look? It's it drove me crazy too. I still
And you can see that.
no, we're replacing it instead of using RV. So, like when we had RV, it was like node geocode.js, and then you were manually typing in the search query, right? So now we're just going to say node geocode.js, enter, and then it's going to prompt them to type in.
Whatever. Huh? You both what?
And the syntax
What is it?
completely different. It's not as require is creating an object.
So you're.
Oh well, this console operation.
Awesome. Yeah, that was it.
You would just double check it.
Exactly. Sort of.
It's
So then you can get a geocode or
it also should be. So that's
oh, so basically all this stuff that's up here is
Yes.
So that's your syntax right there. Start from the file.
All right. So most of you guys have it ready. I mean, you guys understand that in the then function you were calling the geocode because that's when it should be running. There's no more exercise. I just want to show you one more thing. Again, this is not coding or anything, so don't have to be worried about it. But there's every language has a debugging option. Again, our console log debugging is perfectly fine, and if that's what you guys use, that's totally okay. But any backend languages, every language has a debugger or a debugger option. So similar to that, Node.js also has it. I just want to show you so that it's there. If you guys want to try this option, it's there. So in the documentation, if you scroll down to debugger, and then this is the last one, V8 inspector integration for Node.js. So Chrome, your browser actually comes with some debugging options if you have some Node.js code. And I just want to really quickly show you how to make it work. So I'm going to use the same example, WeatherDesk. I already installed the packages. I have my API key installed over here from the previous example. So if I want to debug this code, again, if we go back to your documentation, it says start your code saying node, and just before the file name that you specify, you have to put minus minus inspect or inspect break. I'll show you what inspect break does because that's more useful. Okay. So it says run your files using node inspect. Oops, no, minus minus inspect minus brk, and then your file name. And this is the old example which uses process argv, so I need to put in some city and state. So I'm going to put this. Okay. Now this will start a debugging session that if you go to Chrome, you should be able to debug this application. So I'm going to open a new Chrome window. Okay. And if you type in Chrome ://inspect. So these are the tools that are built into your browser. So if you go to Chrome ://inspect, after you run your Node.js program, you will see your program will kind of show up on this screen. It says, oh, there's somebody, if you want to look into this one, and these are the dev tools for Node.js. Okay, this is what comes up when you do Chrome inspect. All right, just click on this link and it's going to opened it over here. It's going to open up a window like this, and this is called the debugger. Okay, this is exactly your code. It's running in debugger mode now. So what is it important for? For example, you're trying to understand, you're getting an issue, or you want to see what data is coming back instead of doing console log. What you can do is you can put something called a breakpoint. If you just click on this left index, you will see a highlighted arrow. These are called breakpoints. Breakpoints is when your code runs, it's going to come over here and stop. Okay, that's what a breakpoint means. It's going to break over here. So this arrow over here, this play button, if you play this. Oh, what happened? Cannot read properly if undefined. Alright, let me go back and see what I did. So minus weather best yes, and yeah, that should be it. Go back here. Okay, breakpoint is here. And then if I run this, how do you property of 0 of undefined? Oh, sorry. I use the issue. All right. Inspect. Go back to Chrome. So right now my code is stopped at the first line. Okay. It's not running. There's no output. You see, it's attached, and my code has stopped with the first line. That's what it is saying. So if I run this, it should come over here and stop it over here now. Okay, wherever you put a breakpoint, that's where your code is going to get stopped. Now let's suppose I want to see what my data looks like. Hover over it, and it's going to give you all the information. Instead of console logging, you can see it over here. Make sure what you're looking for. Let's suppose you're looking for formatted address. So you have to do data 0.formatted address or something like this. Okay, so again, any backend language, they all have debuggers. Node.js is still using JavaScript, but they still have come up with a built-in debugger, and this is how you would use your debugger. Or you can use your console log, that's also fine. But I think it's important to know what are the tools available. Again, if you go to the documentation, scroll down to debugger. Okay, and then the last option over V8 inspector integration with Node.js. There are other options. If you're comfortable with this, then I would recommend looking into this. These are a little bit more trickier. They're good, but you need to understand what's going on. But this is the most easy one, and use the flag saying node inspect minus break, and then the file that you are trying to run. That's how I ran this one. Okay, and once this is running, you would go to your browser, and then you're going to do Chrome inspect :/inspect, and it should, if everything is good, it should show you this, that there's a file that is waiting to be connected, and you would just click this and it will show your code, and then your debugger is now connected to your code. By default, it's going to stop at the first line. Okay, and then it's going to stop wherever you want. If you want your code to stop over here and you want to see what data is coming back, or somewhere over here, instead of console logging, this is the second option. Okay, all right, that was the last thing. Ethan will come up and show you the homework as he's walking through. Please make sure you guys are practicing the activities. There is a challenge activity called zombie challenge. Once you are done with all of the exercises, make sure kind of look into this one as well. But this is again a challenge exercise, going to take you some time. Before that, make sure you have done all previous activities and then give this one a try as well. Okay, it's called zombie challenge.